But today we're offering a podcast that will debut recapping the case, but also a story about community. The person here to my left, our digital content producer, Chalice Morgan, joins us to talk about a conversation she had with Cupcake's mother that makes up this podcast. Chalice, good morning.
Good morning, Janice.
It's good to see you. So we were talking about, before we even came to us, how this story affected so many of us, not even knowing the family and not knowing Cupcake, but it was one of those more difficult stories that we've covered.
Absolutely. What happened to Cupcake was an experience for the entire community. It was an experience for us as journalists. I've been at WBRC was at WBRC for about 3 years. So I was fairly new in my career when this happened, and I just recall the emotional turmoil that we all felt in the newsroom and what it was like to cover this. And I wanted to get deeper into the story, and my news director gave me the opportunity to take some of the information that didn't make it to the headlines and develop the rest of the story. I sat down with April, Cupcake's mom, and it got really personal. And it got really personal to the point that her perspective gives us a different lens to view the tragedy through.
Now, she contacted you to want to talk about this, is that right?
So she did. I got her number from an acquaintance, someone who was sort of in the circle, and just told that person to let her know that I was working on a story.
That you were interested.
Correct. And she reached out to me. And Bakari Savage, I'm sure a lot of our viewers remember Bakari, he covered the case. He sort of mentored me through that process, and he said, well, Chalice, if she reached out to you, that means that she has something to say. She has something that she wants to talk about. And I really wanted to give April the opportunity to tell us what that experience was like for her.
What was the atmosphere? How did y'all sit down and talk? Where were you?
So a friend of mine, Refresh Clothing over in 5 Points West, he offered me some backspace in his store. And so we got everything set up. And April is kind of quiet. She's a very quiet, kind of mellow person. But she let me into her world. And I really tried to honor and pay homage to that experience that she had.
Can you give us an example of some of the things that she said, that you said, we only have so much time on television, and you said a lot of that information did not make it into the stories, so there's so much more to this. Give us an idea, if you can, of what she said.
Absolutely, Janice. So April did not do a lot of media interviews during the time of the search. And some of that was because she faced some bullying on social media. She faced some bullying from people who were judgmental of her appearance, of the fact that, her daughter was kidnapped from the projects, a part of town that people don't necessarily know about. And so that really stayed with her in some of the feeling unprotected in some spaces. And it's really interesting because the unity that we experienced during that time was unforgettable. There was a moment where we were all breathing one breath on her behalf. But at the same time, social media, there was this alternate narrative playing out that was really cruel.
Because a lot of people may remember, people said that her family knew who took the child, and which we know now none of that was true, but that had to be so hurtful. Did she address that?
She did. She talked about a lot of those things. The conspiracy theorists come out, the detectives and the lawyers, the self-proclaimed lawyers come out, and people can be very opinionated, especially when we're passionate. And the community was passionate about this case. And I don't think that people meant harm when they would speculate about things, but we don't realize how much power our words and what we put out there can have.
That is so true. Was it difficult to talk with her?
It was really difficult, Janice, to talk about something that's so precious.
Yeah.
You always feel like you're intruding a little bit to ask these questions, but she was so graceful. And I was so honored to be able to have that conversation with her.
What do you want our viewers to know about this podcast?
It is not a true crime episode. It is a look at human nature. It is a look at community. It is a look at self. And what happened to Cupcake really put us in a position to have to be a part of the story, to be a part of the support, or be a part of the pain. And so, you never get to turn a blind eye. We are a part of a collective. And now more than ever, it's really important to know your role and to do your best to try to help the person next to you, because there's always more things happening. As journalists, there's more under the story. As a victim of a crime, there's more under the story. Even as the criminal, there's more to the story. So just being aware of those types of things.
Where can people find the podcast?
So it is currently streaming on our website, WBRC.com. Go to the homepage and find the podcast network. You can access it there. It will be on Apple, the Apple platform, and Spotify and Stitcher. We have to have a few weeks to get it approved, but primarily WBRC.com is where you can find the work.
All right, Chalice Morgan, thank you so much. I know it was difficult but very important for you to finish that. I remember she'd be in the newsroom and it weighed heavy on you as you were working on it.
I feel like I was just like stony, like I just was so immersed in such a dense topic. It was very heavy.
Well, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Janice.
All right, it's good to see you.